everybody, in this video I will be showing you how to make your very own bee, and this pattern is a part of the DIY kits I was selling at my most recent market. And if you haven't already, I would first watch my videos on how to do a single crochet, decreasing, increasing, just all the basic crochet stitches that you will need to do. And for this video I am using a size 4mm hook. And so let's get started. And first you want to start with the yellow color, and I want to do 6 single crochets into a magic ring. So I'm just going to start off with my slip knot here and chain 2. I'm going to do 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So here is my first crochet, and I want to mark this just like that. So now I want to do 5 more. Alright, so here is my magic ring, and I have 6 single crochets in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I want to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, just like that. And now I want to increase all around, so I have a total of 12 single crochets. So going into my next stitch, which is right here, a single crochet. And remember, an increase is 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So there's my first single crochet. Now I insert my hook back into that same stitch, and there is my second crochet. So there's 3 total. 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so you should have 12 single crochets in your magic ring here. So now we're going to move on to round 3, which is an increase and then a single crochet, and we should have a total of 18 single crochets. So my first stitch here, I'm going to do an increase. And then in my next stitch, I want to do a single crochet. And then in the next stitch, an increase. And then in the next stitch, a single crochet. Alright, so you want to do this all the way around until you have a total of 18 single crochets. Alright, so I have 18 single crochets here. And now for rounds 4 and 5, we want to single crochet around, and for a total of 18 single crochets. Alright, so I just reached the end of round 5, and as you can see, I haven't done this single crochet that's at the end because I want to color change to black in my last stitch here. So I'm going to cut my yarn And I'm just going to cut it off so it's a tiny little tail. And now I'm just going to insert my hook into this stitch here. And you want to grab your black. And you want to wrap it around your hook so the tail is closer to you, just like this. And it doesn't have to be super long either, it can just be short. But you want to hook it, like wrap it around so it looks like a little loop. And you want to hold it. And then you want to, using your hook, you want to pull it through the stitch, just like this. And now you want to grab it, just like as if you're working with it. And then you want to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. So now we have just color changed to black. And now for round 6 or 7, you want to single crochet around for 18 times with the black. Have a total of 18 single crochets. And once you get down to the last row, which is round 7, you want to just stop before that last crochet so we can use the yellow. Like I did with the black to yellow. So I am going to cut the black yarn just like this, and I am going to insert my hook underneath the stitch just before the marker. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the black with the yellow. So I am just going to wrap my yarn around my hook with the tail closer to me. Just like that. Just gonna pull it through my stitch. So I have 2 loops on my hook, and now I am just gonna pull the yarn through both loops, and I just color changed to yellow. So now for round 8, I am going to single crochet 18 around, and just like we just did, you want to stop just before the stitch marker here, so we can color change back to black. Alright, so I just completed round 8, and again I just left this stitch here so I can color change back to black. So I want to cut my yarn and get my black, insert my hook into that stitch, wrap the black around my hook, just like that, pull it through, and pull through both loops. And now for rounds 9 and 10, I want to single crochet around and have a total of 18 single crochets. And again, at the end of round 10, we want to leave this stitch here so we can color change back to yellow. And I want to color change back to yellow. So I want to cut my yarn just like this. Insert my hook into that stitch there. And wrap my yellow around my hook. Pull it through my stitch. And now yarn over and pull through both loops. And now for rounds 11 and 10, I want to single crochet around 2 times. and I want to have a total of 18 single crochets. Alright, so after you've completed rounds 11 through 12, your piece should start to coming out looking like this. And so where you have been color changing, this is the top of the bee and where you will be adding your wings. So now we will be adding our eyes before we move on to round 13. So I am using 12 millimeter eyes. So I like to just look at my piece like this, and from about like the middle of my magic ring, in the very last row right here, just like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So between rounds 3 and 4 is where I like to add my eyes, and then right across, same thing again, just like that. So between rounds 3 and 4, and right in the middle of our magic ring here. Right, so after I added my eyes and put the backings on, I am going to start on round 13, which is a decrease and then a single crochet, and I should have a total of 12 single crochets. So now I am on to round 14, and I am going to decrease around, but before I do that, I'm going to stuff the bee. So I'm just going to pull my hook out just a little bit. Alright, so I just finished stuffing the bee to where it's pretty firm but still squishy. So now I am on to round 14, and I want to do a total of 6 decreases, so I have a total of 6 stitches at the end. So here's my first decrease. And you want to keep going around until we have a total of 6 stitches. Alright, so I just finished round 14, and I'm just going to pull my hook out just a little bit. So I should have 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I can go ahead and just finish adding some more stuffing, just a little bit, so the back of the bee isn't so flat. Just like that. And now I want to slip stitch into this stitch here that I've marked by the marker. Like that. And now I want to cut my yarn to about, maybe have it like this long, just so I can fasten it off. And I'm just pulling my yarn just a little bit so it closes. You don't want to pull it too tight either to where it will break. So now I'm just going to take my needle and thread it through. And I only want to go through the first loop, so the loops that are closer to me. And I'm just going to thread my needle through and pull it slightly. I don't want to pull it too tight because I don't want it to break. So I'm just going to go all the way around into those front loops only until my hole here gets a little bit smaller, which it is right now. And I'm just going to pull just a little bit but not too tight. Alright, so that is good enough. And now I'm just going to insert my needle through where the middle of this the middle of where this was, where I just closed it off. And I'm just going to come out through another end. Just pull it, but not too tight either. Now I'm going to insert my needle back into where I just came out of. And I'm just going to do this a couple times, going back and forth throughout different parts of the bee's body, just so I get that tail stuck. And again, you don't want to pull too tight to where it will break. I like to wrap my finger around the yarn to have a little tension here so I can cut it as close as I can. And now I can just tuck in any like loose tails. And now we can go ahead and get started with the wings. So for the wings, you want to take your white yarn and you want to make a magic ring. So I'm going to do a slip knot and I'm going to chain 2. And now I want to do 6 single crochets into my magic ring. So there's 1. And I'm going to mark this. Here's 2. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I want to make a slip stitch into the next stitch. Alright, and then for the second round, I want to increase all around, so I have a total of 12 stitches. Alright, so I have 12 single crochets in my magic ring now. And now I want to do an increase and then a single crochet into my next stitch for round 3. So I'm at the end of round 3, and now I want to fasten off with a slip stitch into the next stitch. And now you want to cut a tail long enough to sew on your wing. So about this length is good. So now I'm just going to pull very gently. So my wing is now fastened off. So you want to make another one of these, and then I will show you how to sew the wings onto your bee. Alright, so I have the 2 wings now, and before we start sewing, I like to weave in this tail from the magic ring into my wing so I can cut it off. So I just like to go in the middle, just pull it, and then I'll just go back in and through another way, just so I can cut it. Like so. And now to sew it on, you want the outer part of your ring to be the outer part, and then the inner part where you had the tail coming out from is the inner part, like so. So I like to sew on the wings just above the eyes here and try to covering up where you were changing your colors. So I like to do towards the middle, just above the eye, about maybe like this far apart. And I just like to hold it in place. And then before I sew it on, I just want to make sure I like where it is. So now I am just going to thread my needle through and just try to hold it in place to where I want it, and just line it up with the black stripes as well. So I like it right there. So now I'm going to go put my needle through this stitch here, and I'm just going to sew it through. So I'm just going to stick it through at the back, just pull through very gently. So now I just made my first little sewing, and you want to do this on the back side too, but I'm going to do one more on the front of the wing. Again, going through a little stitch, just pulling slightly. And now I'm going to turn my bee around, and I'm going to do the same on the back of the wing so it stays. So I just like to find any loop that's around the bottom here, and this is a good one right here. So now I'm just going to insert my needle and insert it into one of the stitches on the back of the bee. I'm going to find another one. This is another good one right here. Alright, so I'm going to go on the front again and find another stitch and just sew it onto the back of the bee, like so. So now my wing is sewn on. Now I'm going to weave in my tail like I did when I closed up the bee. I'm going to insert my needle to where I just came out from, and just go to anywhere on the bee and repeat it a couple times so that tail is nice and stuck in there. And again, you don't want to pull too tight either, because the yarn will break or you won't be able to weave in your tail properly if you just pull it. So now I'm just going to cut my yarn, and it's okay if it sheds like this. It's totally fine, because once it's sewn on there, it's not going on anywhere. Okay, so now my first ring is on there. So now you want to repeat what you just did on the other side. And you want to weave in your tail here first. So, again, I'm going to thread my needle through. And I like to go in the middle here, pull it, insert my needle where I just was, and go to a different section in the wing. Just like that. And now I want to cut this off, like that. And then when I flip it, so this is my outer part, and then this is the inner part of the wing. And I'm going to sew it in like around the same place, so about maybe right here. So again, slide my needles thread through the yarn here. I'm just going to line it up to where I think it looks even, which is right about right here. So your finished product should look something like this once you've sewn it on. And this is concludes the end of the tutorial for the DIY bees. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below in the comment section, or email me or DM me through my Instagram at Mackie Crochets. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and to everyone who purchased the bee kit at my market. Thank you so much. Bye bye.